Greetings, family. Powerful shifts happening at present. Um, a lot of us are going through this wave and anchoring our modanic self, our higher self consciousness. When that takes place, our lower chakras consolidate because it's our chakras that we ascend through. And so our lower chakras consolidate as we clear the karma in those energy spaces, in those aspects of consciousness, and we shift into our higher experiences of ourself. We are in an ascension wave right now, and we have been for some time. There was a changing of the guards that took place last year. That was the time when I anchored my modanic self of Sophia Christos energy, and have been going through a journey ever since of remembering and forgetting and remembering and putting back together again. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been anchoring this rainbow frequency energy, the Kahundere, which has been activating our latent soul consciousness and awareness, also awakening those who are the 144 starseeds who have come to kind of anchor the vibration of the blue arc energy on the planet, and also creating space for us to do the soul healing work that we need to do in the shadow realms. What is happening now is that process is coming to a close, not necessarily in the terms of it being ending, but in terms of the wave. As we've come out of Mercury retrograde, as Chiron is also moving in the universe, our collective karma is being resolved, and so therefore there is a gateway opportunity for many of us to ascend into our higher levels of consciousness. Many of us are also remembering our soul memories, our soul purposes. Even for myself, I don't know if you've noticed, but I always go through a death and rebirth, and each time collecting more different names which are basically different vibrations or aspects of my soul consciousness. I'm now vibrating at my highest level of self, to the point where I no longer have the need for guides or any kind of other spiritual help. What happens is when you initiate in your fifth or sixth initiation, and these are the initiations of ascension that we all go through as we resolve our karma in our lower and higher chakras. As we go through each initiation, we become closer to our higher self. And what I'm understanding now is that my connection with my creator was very, very powerful from I was a child. I mean, that was the only thing that I ever knew. In my moments of trauma, I would interact with the creator. In my moments of gratitude and jubilance, I would interact with the creator. And I've always said that there is a voice within me that knows all things and always tells me what it is that I need to know. Now I know that is my higher self. And although I came in here with my full access to my higher self, I also had that separation between my physical body and my soul consciousness. And that was so that I could hold on to those soul memories and be able to observe my life from the observer perspective, to have my life experience from the observer perspective, so that I can be conscious of everything that was happening, be able to articulate the experiences, be able to understand what's happening for each person within this story. So ultimately, I would be able to go through this human journey, human experience from my higher self perspective, having a human experience, and be able to go through the learnings, the journeys, consolidate the healing, the wisdom, articulate the understanding, and then bring that forth back to other people through my example, through my purpose, through my works, through who I am. And it's taken a long time for me to really fully be able to trust in who that is and who I am at a soul level, because the more that we expand in our consciousness, the less that we have a connection to the identity of the I, of the soul, so attaching things to ourselves. So the mind can sometimes have a very difficult time trying to process and understand who we really are at our core. And so because it's always attaching itself to the ego, it can be difficult for us. We say things like, I am the queen of this, and I am this, and I am this, and I am that, until we bypass that aspect of the ego and the attachment that takes place, and to understand that we are everything, we are part of everything, and we are everything. However, we have chosen to manifest as a certain aspect of consciousness with certain frequencies, certain encoding, certain karmic energies and miasms that need to be cleared, that will help us in our own ascension and our own spiritual growth and development as a soul, having a human experience on this physical planet. The physical planet herself is also going through an ascension. We have the harmonic universe, the harmonic convergence. A harmonic universe is made up of three different dimensions vibrating at the same within the same frequency space or frequency band, in order to manifest a certain type of reality at a level of consciousness. We have just moved out of harmonic universe 1, which is dimension 1, which is dimension 1, 2, and 3. where the 3D was our highest realm of consciousness. We are now moving into the harmonic universe 2, which is dimensions 4, 5, and 6, where 6 is our highest vibration of consciousness. And really, we are all really now trying to anchor that energy within the 5-dimensional consciousness field, where we are now tuning into clearing our hearts, tuning into unity consciousness. In order to do that, we have to move through the 4th dimension. The 4th dimension is time. The 4th dimension is the mental realm. And we are all communicating and connecting on this 4th dimensional realm of consciousness, because the way that we interact with each other now is based upon our astral and our mental connections. Even me speaking to you now, you're seeing my face, but you're not physically interacting with me, and so therefore you are really interacting with my consciousness, and the consciousness, or the aspect of my consciousness that is able to be perceived or expressed through my mind, through my experience of my mind. When you start moving into the 5th dimension, you're now moving into the experience of the heart and yourself as a soul connected to everything. When we're working from the heart, we have to be in a space of balance. So that is why a lot of us are having to clear our lower self, clear the aspects of our karma and our lessons within our lower self, so that we can now access the gateway of higher consciousness through our heart chakra, through our heart. When we enter into that realm of the heart, we activate the threefold flame of divinity, the threefold flame of Christ within us. And basically what that is the consolidation of the karma or the karmic values within those lower chakras, within that lower self. So it's kind of like your passcode. Your lower self has your animalistic abilities, your root chakra. It has your sacred power, your sexuality, your creativity in your sacral, and you have your solar plexus, which is your will, your ability to go for what you want, your drive, your desire. Now, in our lives, we go through karmic miasms, so karmic experiences, which help us to implant certain learnings that allow us to then go through those experiences and uncover the learning. Now, when we're working on our lower chakras, we're working on ourselves, our lower selves, in the realm of our lower self and the realm of the ego. So when we go through clearing our chakras, it's not just about clearing it on an energetic level, it's also about clearing it on a conscious level, going back into certain things that happened to you as childhood, or different things that trigger things within you, going back into them, understanding them, clearing them, embodying them, healing them on all different levels of frequency, all different levels of experience. And you may have to do that different, many times as you go along. People talk about the onion layer, about always having to go back to certain experiences. The whole purpose of this is so that we can clear all of the karmic imprints, ancestral karmic imprints and personal karmic imprints, planetary karmic imprints as well, from our lower chakras and our lower experience of ourselves, our lower selves. When we have mastered our lower selves, the lower chakras now transmute into these threefold flames, which anchor themselves within the heart. And this is the experience that I've had myself, but also if you check out some of the Ascension mechanics, it talks about this happening within our physical body, within our consciousness. So the lower 3 chakras of the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus now become flames, which are divine love, divine power, and divine wisdom, and divine will. So this is us now transmuting our lower self, our lower powers, our lower ability into our highest self now, into the heart, where it now becomes this flame. From that space now, we start to create and manifest our experiences in balance, in reflection of ourselves. This is why a lot of us are manifesting twin flame relationships, because we are manifesting the experience of ourselves, joined with ourselves, reconnected with ourselves. And as I said before, the lower chakras are around your personal connection, you as a soul, as an identity, you as an individual. But now we're moving into the higher chakras, we're moving into the higher realms of consciousness, into the heart and above, and you're dealing with transpersonal chakras. You're dealing with your heart, how you love, how you express, how you communicate. That's also the space of your feminine qualities. And we've been living very much in our masculine reality for this past age. Living very much in, looking outside of ourselves for our reality, very much in the space of, putting energy out. The feminine energy, so to speak, has been shrouded in mystery. The other day, I went through the rebirthing of the 13th hour, the understanding that the 13th is the hidden number, it's the feminine energy. Whether it's the 13 months in the year or the 13 hours, that 13 is the power, it's the hidden, it's the mysticism. The 13th disciple was Mary Magdalene. So it's that feminine energy, that container that was created by the Most High to be all things, to be able to change into all things, to transform into all things, as the creative nature of the creator, as it does. And so as we're moving into this space of the 13, we are bringing to the fore the hidden mysteries. So all of that thing that was hidden within the void of our consciousness is now coming out. The male energy holds the 1212 symbol code. The frequency of the 1212 is the mastery. And the feminine energy in her heightened state holds the frequency of the 1313. The goddess energy, the mother arc frequency code, the anchoring of that divine feminine energy on this planet. And so therefore, as we move into this next stage of our reality, we are moving into the space of harmony, moving into the space of oneness, moving into the space of understanding how we react and respond and relate to our environment and also to each other. And as we do that, we start to experience these experiences within these higher level chakras or higher levels of consciousness. Okay, so we're moving from the heart into the realm of the throat, expression, and sonic sacred language. And this brings me back to something I'm going to just share, and then I'll probably do another video giving a demonstration. But last night was new moon in Aries, and for me, I've been going through, as I said, this awakening and remembering, but still, because of certain things that took place in my childhood, these imprints within my mind and within my lower chakras, which stopped me from being able to fully believe in my purpose and my power. It was like every time things were happening to me, every time I was waking up, every time I was receiving a sacred key, there would be this thought process or this feeling within my body that would say to me, I cannot believe what it is that I have received. And this was something that was implanted in me within childhood and within school. So we have to consciously go back through these processes to identify where the implants have come that have been implanted in our minds and in our bodies that stop us from being able to go through our natural evolution of our and development of our original divine blueprint and awareness and awakening to our skills, our capabilities, and who we are. So I've been going through a series of these different activations. Last year was the changing of the guards, and I went down to Glastonbury and did toning, anchoring that mother arc frequency and opening and activating the mother arc energy, that 1313 energy, that goddess energy at Glastonbury, which is the heart chakra of the earth and also the third eye chakra of the planet. These things were happening from my monadic self. And what happens is we bring in higher levels of our consciousness at different times in order for us to do things that have been written for it to happen. And so that was what was happening to me. But what was also happening was ascension and descension in consciousness, literally being awake to who I fully am, and then getting to a point where it's so powerful, it's so big that my human body could not perceive or allow itself to understand and believe who I was at my source, and my soul consciousness. It did not matter who I connected with, who told me, it didn't matter how many past life journeys I had, it didn't matter how many sacred initiations that I had. I still had this aspect of my consciousness which would not allow me to remember who I was, which is also connected to Sophia, who is an aspect of my consciousness, that descended mother aspect who descended into consciousness and came to humanity, came to earth to help humanity to remember who they are and to know their gifts, but she forgot who she was, so to speak. So we understand how these archetypes, these stories are stored within our akashics. The reason why we remember certain things the way that we remember them, we have these memories. Oh, maybe I was around in this life, or maybe I was around in this life, or you meet people in your life who you know that you've connected with before. These are the little clues that your higher self-consciousness has left in your physical story, in the human story that you created, so that you would remember who you are and be able to put those pieces back together. And so yesterday in New Moon in Aries, after been going through an amazing upgrade, as I said, moving into my heart and moving more into my true power and integrity. Yesterday in New Moon, it was just this anchoring of this frequency. And New Moon is about the I, the individual, the source, you being in your power, being fearless, being bold, being confident, and accepting who you are at your source. And through that happening, I just went through a very, very powerful initiation and started to activate more of my higher level frequencies. Now, anyone who knows me, I'm a multidimensional healer. So I'm able to take people on journeys through their consciousness to heal certain things. I use certain healing tones and frequencies that I generate myself through my body in order to heal. I generate symbols. I've always been able to access source wisdom, but there was always this aspect of me that was still observing the experience and not able to embody it on a soul and a physical level so that I could really really do the work from a place of knowing rather than a place of believing. And so my consciousness has been about trying to anchor that vibration within myself, trying to anchor that vibration of knowing within myself. And so this new moon in Aries allowed for that energy and that space to take place. Last year, I started to channel this Syrian language, this Lyrian language. And as I started to do this, things started to really powerfully happen for me. But then obviously, as you know, you become scared and fearful because you do not know what it is that is taking place. There's not always people that can guide you as to what is taking place. And also, you are in your human vehicle, and fear is something that you have to learn to understand the nature of. Fear is the opposite of fear. Fear is the opposite of love. So fear in itself is like a meter reading, a barometer that helps you to understand that something is coming, or something is around, or something is in your environment which is out of alignment or needs your attention. But most of the time when we feel that fear, we go into it and become that fear and allow it to consume us. So what was happening was this opening of this throat chakras, and us now being able to anchor these higher frequency tones and languages. The original soul languages of creation is not based on the English language that we speak now, and it was through the languages that we were able to activate certain healing powers, that we were able to move objects. The word, the logos, the word, the whole of creation was manifested from the word. And so therefore it's a very powerful aspect of our being when we now able to combine our higher self and our soul, our heart, our connection, our human self, and project that into consciousness. We can literally manifest our reality. We are in the space, moving into this space now of this higher vibration where as we speak it manifests. And this is the realm of experience that we are moving into now. But in order to do that, we have to anchor these frequencies of the divine threefold flame of Christ or divinity within our own being, within our heart. So the guidance right now, family, is to understand that our chakras are different realms of consciousness, and that we have to experience ourselves through those different realms of consciousness. When we're doing this clearing and this shadow work that we're doing right now, it's of utmost importance that you allow yourself to do it from a place of objectivity. You are not the experience. You are not the embodiment of the experience. You are operating from your oversoul, from your highest self. But because you have come and descended into consciousness now, you are having to kind of awaken whilst you're in the process of something you should already know about. And so you're being encouraged to be gentle with yourself. Allow yourself to access soul memories of who you truly are. Anything that's coming up in you that needs to be released right now, allow it to be anchored and activated. Allow it to be cleared. DNA clearings and karma clearings and soul activations and all these kind of things work on scalar waves and tonal frequencies. So they can help to activate certain aspects that are latent within your being. When I do DNA activations and clearings, sometimes we understand and find out that some of the chakras have imprinted imprints or implants within them, which are kind of imbalances, karmic imbalances that you have created or chosen to bring into this life, which have distorted certain aspects of your abilities and kept you in certain loops of behavior. Once we do DNA clearings and activations, you now start to understand and access the latent power within those experiences, and return more of your soul consciousness and your soul wisdom to you. And so these tools have been given to us at this time because we're literally going through a car wash. We have come from a space where we were experiencing ourselves in our lower. And in order for us to experience ourselves now in the second realm of experience, or the second realm of consciousness, the next harmonic universe, we are having to go through that shift. We are having to ascend in consciousness. We are having to consolidate our learning, consolidate our karma, and bring an understanding to all of the experiences that we've had on a collective and an individual level, and then level up and move that energy now into the heart so that we can start this next experience of 4 dimension and above. I also wanted to mention when you can see when a shift is happening, because usually how molecules and energies and frequencies work is the highest vibration is able to raise everything else that's underneath it, and within that space you will find a median or a mean vibration, a mean or a median dimension. So let's say, for instance, if you have harmonic universe 1, 2 and 3, which is the 3D reality that we were living in before, our 3D reality was 3D because 3D was the highest aspect of consciousness that we could experience this reality on. We went from understanding ourselves as very, very primitive, which is likened to dimension 1, the atoms, the cells, the sea life, all of that kind of stuff, dimension 1, now to dimension 2, when we're just in our animal self, when we're in our simplistic way of understanding our reality. We're looking at the earth as flat and all of these kind of things. And then we move into the 3D realm of consciousness now, where we see our reality based on sacred geometry, based on expansion, based on body, based on, on our 3D reality, taste, touch, sense, feel, all of the, based on those senses. Now, that was our highest vibration. When we're moving now into harmonic universe 2, what happens is our highest vibration is 6-dimensional, which is sound and frequencies and tones. And so what that means now is our mean existence, our mean realm of experience is now the 5th dimension. That realm of consciousness, which is about unity, which is about love, which is about clarity of the heart, which now allows us to activate other latent gifts that we have based on our latent senses, so to speak, such as intuition, biolocation, teleportation, levitation. All of these things can only happen when we have activated our light body. And what's happening now is we're going through that activation of our light body. The Ramati Sekhem system and the UDF Sekhem system that I teach is about helping you to activate your light body, your rainbow body, so that you can make that transition from Homo sapien, which is a carbon-based 666 carbon-based being, into Homo luminous, which is a light body activated being, crystalline energy, which is who we are at our core, which is pertaining to our original divine blueprint. We are not just beings walking around on this planet. We are living and connected to everything. Our blood is crystal. Our blood takes in the light from the sun and is able to refract. The mind has crystals in it. Our mind has a pure crystalline elixir fluid within our brain called Amrita, which is where our consciousness is. And that was the same energy that the original feminines, who were asexual in their ability to procreate, they drew that sacred elixir down from the well of their mind. That is their God code, their God center, down through their spine, which represents Ascension in consciousness, and it was extracted in through their rib, through the rib, into their womb area, into their heart first, because the seed must be planted within the heart and then rooted into the sacral now, so that it can be nurtured into the soil and then given birth to, released through the vagina, the gateway, the sacred passage. And so this is the power that we had as women. We were made as the containers of the creator's creations, the vessels in which the creator creates through. And so we've had to go through this separation. We've had to go through this learning of ourselves in our lower aspect, so that we can regain this knowledge. And so as this consciousness is becoming back to the planet of understanding the feminine energy, this divine feminine energy, as it's coming back into the planet, we're experiencing balance. We're experiencing oneness. We're experiencing twin flames coming into alignment. We're experiencing our closer connection to our ancestors, to our guides. We are experiencing the revelation of the unseen. 95% of what we experience in our reality is the unseen, it's the hidden, it's the shadow realms, it's where magic and mastery reside. That's the feminine energy. That is the womb, that is Amenti, that is the void, that is creation. And it's from that realm that we are going to now experience more of ourselves. When we move through the halls of Amenti, the halls of Amenti are the sacred gateways within the heart. There's also a physical halls of Amenti underneath the Sphinx, which is basically the space in which the first human beings were created by 24 light beings who came together to make one seed of consciousness. And it took them a long time in order to do that. We're at that time again now where that next seeding is taking place, and it's happening etherically. I'm going to Egypt to continue that process. Many of us are being called back to continue that process, to bring forth our source and soul energy, so that we can now bring forth this next level of human consciousness within this physical body. And so we're all going through this experience on different levels of consciousness. So bringing it back to the new moon and what was happening yesterday, we are all being encouraged to just stand in our purpose and in our power and in our path. Understand that our chakras are realms of experience, realms of consciousness, realms of existence, and that we are moving into the higher experience of ourselves. And with that moving, with that ascension, brings more gifts, more wisdom, more understanding of who we truly are. It brings us a deeper connection to us as a soul, as a soul. My book, The 12 Seeds to Awaken Your Spirit, this is the story of your journey from being a star, which is that consciousness, that spark of creation, which has all the infinite potential, and then descending in consciousness to be planted into the earth. And I use the sacred geometry symbol of the seed of life, those 6 circles interacting together to formulate. That is what happens to us when we are in the womb and we are going through that process after conception of being able to shift and change into the human form, the human embryo, the human genotype, and then it's buried into the fertile soil of Mother Earth, Gaia, and we are nourished with the nutrients of fire, earth, air, and water, experience, time, love, comfort, all of these things, so that we can make that ascension through our chakras and make that ascension into our higher self and return back to being the star. Having resolved all of our karma, having remembered who we are as soul consciousness, because only in this realm do we have the experience of what it's like to be individualized soul consciousness. Only in this reality do we get to understand what it's like to be free will, to have our own choice, and to create and see the results of those creations, and to create karma and to learn from our lessons. This is the only realm in which our infiniteness of the Creator is given an idea, a conscious aspect, is given an aspect in which it can embed itself into a level of consciousness where it can see itself as individualized and separate from the whole. So we've come here to resolve the karma. We have not come here born of sin. We are perfect, whole, and complete. However, we must go through this journey. We must go through the journey of the Christ. We have to remember we are the star, and we awaken and anchor that divine Christ consciousness energy within us. Within us, as we activate and awaken to our journey and to our purpose. Christ is also frequencies. Karayasatahala. Christ hala, the light body, the Christ frequency energy within you. This energy that's coming through the divine feminine energy, this Magdalene energy, this Maharata energy, this 13 blue mother arc energy is about the balance. Christ and Mary Magdalene went through what was called the Hieros Gamos, and that is the embodiment, the sacred marriage between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, which anchors the Most High's purpose and the Most High's energy on this realm. So many of us are going through these twin flame connections after we've gone through our own personal crucifixion. When you master those lower aspects of your lower chakras, you're basically going through your crucifixion. You are tried and tested by your own experiences. You are tempted by your own devil. The devil is you. The devil is your lower self. And through my own experience, once all of that was consolidated, what took place once that threefold flame anchored within my heart was that my inner child now became my lower self. Meaning that my lower self is my innocence and my joy, which is the same thing as a child that you're taught to get rid of. That precious innocence and that joy that we are all trying to get back, that is the lower self, not the devil. The devil is the experience of ourselves in our lower self. But once we understand the fullness of that, we realize that that's our child, and our joy is our power, and our joy is our stability and our innocence, because we were born and created from innocence. That's why sin is something that is perpetrated at us and just sent to us all the time, because our innocence is our superpower. So you are being encouraged, young people of earth, you are being encouraged to not be afraid to go into your lower self. Do not be afraid to go into your lower self. Many of the indigenous cultures and times and the myths that have been left in your consciousness are there to remind you of the journey that we all must take to go through our underworld. Ultimately, so we can move through the gateway of the heart. Go through our halls of Amenti. Our halls of Amenti are the realms of consciousness, the realm within our heart where we get to experience ourselves, where we get to meet our ego, where we get to go to different aspects of our consciousness and clear our karma. It's where we get to be judged every single day in the halls of Ma'at by Tahuti and Ra. We do this consciously every day. This is why the ancient Kemetans, they glorified, so to speak, the death, but they didn't fully understand it. And I believe that they did understand it, but as the dynasties, got on, the consciousness descended and that the wisdom became lost. And so therefore it was what we see now is the idolatry or the worship of what was. And what was is being reinstated and returned to us now. I was there at the beginning of this seeding of this race. I was there at the end of Tara. I was there at the beginning of Atlantis. And I was there in Lemuria. I was there at the beginning of the seeding of all of this human race, this human experience. And many of us with that soul memory have come back now because we are birthing a new experience for ourselves. We are creating another experience for ourselves because the nature of the creator is to just keep on creating. And as you create, as you become more of yourself, you access more of your power and more of what the creator has to offer, which is infinity. Your wisdom, your power, your experience is infinite. And so therefore in this human vehicle, in this human body, you've chosen to come and experience yourself, to clear that karma so that you can make that ascension into your higher self. Many of us are not coming back. We don't want to come back and descend onto this planet. There'll be other realms in which we can experience more of ourselves on and as. And so this journey that we're all going through is very powerful. And this journey that we're all going through has been written. So I want you to know that everything that you're going through right now is to help you to transform into your higher self. I want you to know that everything that you've always needed is already within you. I want you to know that that little voice that you hear, that you always kind of criticize or judge or do not trust, is the most powerful ally that you have. And I want you to know that it's time for us to understand the truth of this reality so that we can access fully more of who we truly are in this time. From this day forward, I choose to no longer deny myself. I am all aspects of my being within this physical consciousness, and it is my purpose to anchor that mother frequency within me. I am the feminine Christ. You are the feminine and masculine Christ. And so therefore, when you choose to embody and remember who you are, as it said, everything will be given unto you. Send you love, family. From my heart to yours. It's time. Ashe.